Hey guys, welcome to the Timber Forge. This is going to be the first episode in a series of maybe 4 or 5 videos in which I will be going through the process of creating custom items by using commands and or a data pack. In this first video, I will be going through how to choose what item to use as your base item for your custom item, and also how to use MC Stacker to give yourself your custom item with the proper tags and attributes. In future videos, I will be going over how to give your custom item its special abilities to differentiate it from the rest of Minecraft's default items. I will go over how to use Blockbench to create custom models and textures to make your item look visually different, and I will also go over how to create some sort of method of acquiring your custom item, whether that be a custom crafting recipe or a custom mob drop. I think that this series of videos will be an ultimate guide to creating your own custom items, and you should be able to create whatever custom items you want by watching this series of videos. However, if you do decide to create some awesome and complicated custom item and you need help with it, please join the Discord in the description, and I will be glad to help you along with some other data pack creators. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Okay, so the first step in determining how to create your custom item is to determine what your base item will be. Every custom item will have some sort of base item, and the first step is to determine what your base item will be. So to explain what I'm talking about, I brought one of my custom heat rounds from my tank data pack. Go check that out. And as you can see, where it says moderate armor penetration, underneath that it says Minecraft Iron Nugget. That's because this is basically a retextured iron nugget with some special tags so my commands can identify it. But as you can see, the base item is an iron nugget, and in order to see that text, you have to do Fn F3H and make sure advanced tooltip says shown. Then you should be able to see what every item is. And also make sure that you understand that the base item is not going to be overwritten by the custom item you're going to make. That's how it used to work, but it doesn't work like that anymore because of custom model data. So if I search in here, you will find that iron nugget, even though these are both iron nuggets, this one is a custom item, but this one is not, because the item is not overwritten, because we are able to create new textures for any item we want basically by using resource packs and the new custom model data tag introduced in 1.13. So just to make sure that you understand, this is not going to overwrite any item in the game. So first you have to determine what your purpose of your item is. So if you're basically just going to be adding on to an existing item in the game, you're not creating something completely new, then you already have your item selected for you. Just pick whatever you're building off of. So for example, if you're making a lightsaber, you could probably just use a diamond sword. Or if you need to have some sort of shearing capability in your special tool, then just use shears. Now, if you're not just building off of a game tool and you want to create your own new tool, then these are what you want to pick out of. But a tool is not the only thing that you could create. You could also create something placeable or a generic item, just like my heat rounds. So these are some of the useful things you can select if you're making your own tool. So a carrot on a stick, why would you want to use this? This is very useful if you want to be able to detect right clicks from the player. So if you want to be able to make a gun, for example, this is very good to detect when the player wants to shoot by just using the right click function as the shoot. Or let's say you want the player to be able to throw this custom item. Then you probably want it to be something like a snowball, just like how I did in my throwable water video, where I created a throwable water block out of a snowball. Go check that out. And also, let's say you need to detect if an entity is being released from your custom item. Then you probably want to use something like a bow or a fishing rod so you could detect the arrows or the little bobber hook thing. So let's say you want to make a grappling hook and you want to detect if the player has thrown out one of these little bobbers and you want to use that as the actual hook. Then you want to use a fishing rod. Or let's say you're not making a tool. Maybe you want to make a placeable block. Then you want to use either spawn egg or an armor stand. These are the best options for creating a placeable block because this can be summoned to anywhere and you can basically detect where the entity is, then you kill the entity and summon whatever block you want with the identifier right where the entity was. Or use an armor stand, you just place it down and the block goes right to where the armor stand is by detecting the armor stand with your commands. Or let's say you're not making any of those and you want to make a generic item like my heat round here. Then you want to just determine what item you want to use by moving on to this next step. Now in this next step, you want to determine the value. Now this only really matters if you don't know what item you're using and you're making some sort of generic item. So in order to determine what you want to use, you have to determine the value of your item, and that is dependent on how you're making it. So for example, my heat rounds, to make 4 heat rounds, it takes 2 iron ingots. So I made the actual item into an iron nugget so that the item is inherently worth less than what it is made of. And this is just to prevent players from abusing your data pack to just create more items. So let's say you have a crafting recipe for your custom item and it takes 1 stick. Now you don't want the base item for your custom item to be a diamond, because then the players are just going to make infinite diamonds by using the sticks. So you want to make sure that your custom item, base item, is worth less than what it is crafted out of. And now finally, number. So this is not that important, but it can help you. So if you want your item to be stackable, then just follow that last rule that I just covered about the value of it and just pick any random item. However, if you want it to be a non-stackable item, then you could basically just add your own item into the game, because if you summon a generic enchanted book, that item doesn't really exist in the game, so you're basically creating your own item, because there is no generic enchanted book in the game. They're all like Protection 1 or Fire Aspect 2, stuff like that. So when you give yourself an enchanted book that has no enchantment, then you're basically creating a non-existent item. So if you add your own tags and names and model onto that, you're practically adding an entirely new item into the game. So now that you have your item selected, it's time to move on to the next step. Okay, so now that we've decided on what item is going to be used for your custom item, now is to actually give yourself the item and include all of the necessary attributes and tags and all of that stuff. So in order to give yourself the item, and in order to not have to type in a long command yourself, go to mcstacker.net. I'll see you there. Okay, so to start creating your item, what you want to do is go to mcstacker and go to the /give area. And after you click it, you should be in this area. It should show target selectors, and then the important part is down here where it says give item. You can ignore the target selector because it doesn't really matter, because right now what we're doing is just trying to make the actual item itself. This is the /give command, which is just a temporary way of getting the item. Later on, you're going to be creating a way to access it in your own way, whether that be from a crafting recipe, or dropping items on the ground to make an item, or getting it from a mob. What we want to do is first go over here to give item and go to filter and type in whatever item you decided on. I'm going to use a carrot on a stick. So just type in the first few letters and then go to the item menu and select whatever you're using. I'm going to do carrot on a stick because my item is going to be detecting right clicks. So go down to here where it says name S, click on that S, it'll show. And now for value, that's going to be the name. So I'm going to be making Stormbreaker, an axe which will be able to summon lightning. It's from Avengers, obviously. So Stormbreaker. And you have some options here on how you want it to display. So I'm going to go aqua. I'm going to make it bold and italic. And so that stuff's not really important, but lore, you could add some lore if you want. And damage, repair cost, and unbreakable, those are all to do with the durability of the item. So I'm just going to make it unbreakable. Set the count to 1. And then custom model data. Here is the number you're going to type in for the use in your resource pack later on. Make it a relatively random number, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I normally go with a 6-digit string of numbers, and it doesn't really matter what the numbers are as long as they match when you make the resource pack later on to match the model with the item. So then go down to custom tags and just type in whatever the name of your thing is going to be. This is just some random tag, but as long as you keep it the same both in your give command and in your later functions, which will try to identify your item when you're trying to give your item its abilities. So I'm just going to type in Stormbreaker 1B, and you have to put :1B at the end of it. That's just how the tags work. And you can also change can place on, for example, if you're doing a placeable item and you're using an armor stand, and you can use can destroy if you're using a tool. Then there's also enchantments and other modifiers. So you can hide the flags if you want. So I'm going to be hiding the enchantments. And I'm also going to be hiding unbreakable. So now for enchantments, hit show all if not all of them are showing. And then here you can change whatever enchantments you want. Since my item is going to be a weapon, but it's also a carrot on a stick, which does barely any damage, I have to increase the damage it does, and I'm going to use sharpness for that. And I'm going to set it to sharpness 10 for now. I could always change that. It's just right over here. So now this should be good. So the most important things that you have to have are the name, the custom model data 6 numbers, and the custom tag. Other than that, you don't really need anything else in order to identify your item. So now what you want to do, just copy this command and go into your world. So now that we're back into Minecraft, what you want to do is give yourself a command block, because you probably won't be able to just fit it into the chat box, because there's a certain limit to characters and the command's probably long. So just place down a command block and then change it to always active, and then you should be given your item. As you can see, it says Stormbreaker and it's in bold and italics, and it's a carrot on a stick. And as you can see, it says NBT 6 tags. That means all of the tags were added. It does not normally have that many tags. If you go to a normal carrot on a stick, you'll see it has no tags, but this has 6 tags, which means all the tags are on successfully. And I can summon a pig just to make sure the sharpness is properly on. Yep, kills it in 2 shots. A carrot on a stick normally does not do that. So as you can see, it works fine. So now that we have successfully created our item, now we can add our ability in part 2. So go check that out.